What is going on, everyone? Who wants to hear about New York State? Did you know New York is a state as well as a city? I know 99.9% of you just went, yeah, no kidding, but I actually know a girl who's 24 that she really thought it was its own place. She thought New York City was kind of like Washington, D.C., it was its own entity or its own location. But then again, she also thinks Paul McCartney wouldn't have a career without Kanye West, so that kind of tells you what I'm dealing with. I sometimes worry she's going to have kids. I really do. Anyway, New York is a state in the northeastern part of the country. Here it is. It's right up there towards the top. It carries the lofty nickname of the Empire State, and New York was one of the original 13 colonies that formed the United States. With an estimated 19.85 million residents in 2017, it is the fourth most populous state and 27th in total area. New York State was admitted into the Union July 26, 1788, and is the 11th state. After 100 or so years of people moving to New York, the last decade or so has seen a slowdown in that migration. In the last several years, they've seen a shift and now are losing more people than they gain. They are currently the third most moved out of state in the United States. Now that doesn't mean people aren't still moving there. It's a great state with great opportunities and great people. You could be one of them, but before you move to the Empire State, maybe you should watch my top 10 reasons not to move to New York. Number 10. Rude people. New York has always had the stereotype of having very rude residents. A majority of this you will find in the cities, but you'd also find it throughout the state too. Now, to most people this does seem rude, but really it's just they have a very direct way of interacting with each other. Outsiders do see this as abrasive, and it takes a while to get used to. Just be prepared. Number 9. Accents. New Yorkers have some of the deepest, thickest accents in the states. This accent also feeds into the stereotypes of them being rude. New York speakers have some unique conversational styles. Linguistic professor Deborah Tanner noted in a New York Times article that New Yorkers stand closer, talk louder, and leave shorter pauses between exchanges. Most of the country sees this as rude. New Yorkers just see it as the way they communicate. Number 8. The garbage plate. Now, this one isn't as much a reason not to move to the state as me letting you know what the hell someone's talking about if you hear this and you're near Rochester. The garbage plate is not what you think. This is food. And no, not discarded food like the name implies. This is actually something people enjoy. It refers very specifically to a prepared entree consisting primarily of the following: hot dogs without buns, hamburgers without buns, steak, pork chops, sausage, ham, fish, or eggs, and processed potatoes and processed beans. They just throw all this stuff on a plate for you and serve it to you and expect you to pay for it. Now, what's really strange about this is like a good thing for people from upstate New York, really. I don't get it. I had one once and I was not impressed, but people love it. Now, other places do sell it, but they can't use the name garbage plate because the original place, that's kind of their thing. Other places have other names for it, but it's the same idea. Number 7. Crime rate. In New York, the crime rate is very high. It always has been. Most of this obviously being from the major cities, but they still have a solid amount throughout the state. The United States as a whole has seen a 5% decrease in overall crime rate. However, New York has experienced a 4% overall increase. That's not a good sign. Number 6. Snow. New York doesn't just get snow, it gets dumped on. In fact, data shows Rochester's the snowiest city in the entire country. They average about 100 inches a year. It's a lot of snow. Now, that is much higher than, let's say, Manhattan, which only saw about 26 inches in 2017. But still, that makes for a very, very cold winter. And rough to get around. Look into each area before you buy a house and check the snowfall totals. And keep in mind, when you're closer to water, the lakes especially, you're gonna get more snow. Number 5. New York City. New York City is a great city. Probably the most important city on the planet. It is a great city, and it is a great big city. And like all giant cities, it has its problems. It has such bad stats, it brings the rest of the state down. It's almost like you have two sets of stats for New York. You have New York State stats and New York State stats with New York City. Almost like there's an asterisk in the stat book for it. New York City has high crime stats, bad neighborhoods, high cost of living, housing. Everything is a bad stat for this place. Except opportunity. Plenty of opportunity in New York City. You just got to go out and grab it. Number 4. Tourists. New York is filled with tourists. Any time of the year, any time of the day, you can't swing a dead rat without hitting one. Tickets to see the Statue of Liberty need to be bought months in advance. Times Square is like Disneyland on a busy day. Sneaking into Casey Neistat's building is getting crowded. Yeah, actually, Casey Neistat, in case you don't know, is a really big YouTuber, and some dude a couple weeks ago decided to sneak into his building and, waited for him out in front of his office, early morning time. Total dick move. Don't do that. Don't find out where your favorite YouTube star is and try and ambush him to beg for help for your channel. That's like stalking and it makes you look weird. Alright, moving on. If you even are able to get to the top of the Empire State Building, it will be shoulder to shoulder crowded. 3.5 million people visit the Empire State Building every single year. And Casey Neistat is not one of them, so don't even try there. Number 3. Traffic. New York City is the third most congested city in the world, not just in the United States, in the world. New Yorkers spend an average of 91 hours in traffic a year. That's 5 hours shy of spending 4 days of the year in traffic. Now, like so many other stats, New York City is a major factor in this one, and I get it. Stop typing. But the other cities, Buffalo, Rochester, Syracuse, they get it pretty bad too. Traffic just sucks in New York State in general. Let's get out to the farmland. Number 2. Cost of living. The cost of living in New York is 25% higher than the national average, which means you would have to make $125,000 to have the same standard of living someone in Colorado does on $65,000, or someone in Mississippi making minimum wage. Again, the city brings down this stat a lot, but most of this state is well above the national average. It costs a lot to live in New York. It costs crazy amounts to live in New York City. And number 1, taxes. Taxes in New York are nuts. As if the cost of living wasn't killing your bank account already, you have some of the highest taxes in the country to finish it off. Now, there's a lot of ins and outs, and taxes are very complicated, but I'm going to very much broad stroke this one for you, just to give you an idea of what you're looking at. The effective income tax rate in New York is above 5% for an individual and above 6% for a couple. New York allows localities to impose their own income tax, and the average there is about 2% more. The average state and local sales tax is 8.4%. Gas taxes and fees are 44 cents per gallon. Now, it varies by county, but that's about the average. Property taxes are the 10th highest in the U.S. The state tax on cigarettes is $4.35 per pack, the highest in the U.S. And New York City actually tax on another $1.50 on top of that. That's crazy. Why anyone would want to live here with these taxes and cost of living is beyond me. Now, if you make tons and tons of money, yeah, then by all means, it's probably the greatest place to be. But if you don't make that kind of money, you probably want to look elsewhere. And I get we need taxes, but come on, this state's out of control. I thought California was bad. Alright, so that's the top 10 reasons not to move to New York. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Don't forget to hit all those buttons down below. Everybody have a great day. Be nice to each other.